Have you ever noticed how the very first words we whisper to ourselves in the morning can shape the entire day? Before the phone buzzes, before the emails, messages, and responsibilities start pulling you in every direction, there's always this fragile, quiet space. Just a few breaths when the world is still gentle and the heart feels wide open. The Buddha once said, "Our mind creates the world we live in. We become what we think." And isn't that true? If the moment you wake up, you're already tangled in worry and to-do lists, it's like pouring chaos into your morning coffee before you've even taken the first sip. But if you choose gentle reminders, words that bring you back to presence, to compassion, to clarity, everything begins to shift. What I want to share with you today is not distant philosophy, and it's certainly not a formula for being perfect. They are simple affirmations, small, tender words that hold the power to nourish your soul. After years of studying and teaching Buddhist wisdom, I've realized transformation rarely begins with something grand. It begins with the tiniest seeds we plant at sunrise. So today, I want to share with you 7 morning affirmations like little seeds of peace. They're not magic spells, but invitations to return to yourself. So, are you ready to take a deep breath and step into this journey with me? 1. This moment is enough. You know, most of us start the day in a rush. The moment our eyes open, the mind starts racing. Unfinished tasks from yesterday, messages waiting for replies, bills that need to be paid, plans still hanging in the air. Within minutes of waking, our thoughts have already run miles ahead, while our hearts haven't even taken the first step into the morning. In Buddhist teachings, there's a simple but profound reminder. Peace is never in the past or the future. It only exists in this very moment. We often believe peace will come when the work is done, when the bank account is full, when life finally feels settled. But the truth is, this moment right here, as you sit and breathe, is already a complete gift. So pause. Notice the soft light slipping through your window. Feel the warmth of the blanket still wrapped around you. Listen to the gentle rise and fall of your breath. Each of these is reminding you, you are alive, and that is enough. This doesn't mean ignoring responsibilities or pretending you have no worries. It means you don't need to sprint the moment you wake. You don't need to solve everything in a single breath. And you certainly don't need to be perfect to be worthy of peace. The Buddha once said, "In every breath, we already have everything we need." And when you whisper to yourself, "This moment is enough," you are choosing to stop that invisible race your mind pushes you into each day. You are choosing to arrive, to listen, to realize you are not your to-do list, nor your worries about tomorrow. You are simply a living being, breathing, present, here. I know, for many, this sounds almost too simple, but often, simplicity is the medicine we need most, because peace doesn't come from adding more, it comes from realizing the fullness of what is already here. Imagine this. If you start your day with a storm of thoughts, the whole day will feel like running against the wind. But if you begin with one still moment, reminding yourself, "I am here, and that is enough," then no matter how chaotic the world becomes, you will walk through it with steadiness. That is the gift of presence. One small phrase, one slow breath, one quiet gaze can change the entire rhythm of your day. So tomorrow morning, before you grab your phone, before the messages and demands pull you away, place your hand on your chest, close your eyes, and whisper softly, "I am here, and this moment is enough." 2. I will walk through this day with compassion. Isn't it strange? So many of us begin the morning as if we're gearing up for battle. We step out of bed already bracing ourselves to face work, to deal with difficult people, to fight traffic, to handle the weight of expectations, and without even noticing, our hearts slip into a heavy suit of armor. But think about it. If you carry that armor with you all day long, how can you still feel the warmth, the connection, the softness of life? In Buddhism, there's a quality called compassion. The Buddha once taught, "Hatred does not cease by hatred, only by love is hatred healed." And compassion isn't just something you give to others, it must begin with yourself. When you wake up and whisper to yourself, "Today, I will walk through this day with compassion," you're planting a seed. And that seed begins to grow in the way you see others and in the way you treat yourself. On the way to work, instead of getting angry at the driver who cuts you off, you can take a breath and think, maybe they're rushing for a reason I can't see. When you meet a coworker who seems irritable, instead of reacting defensively, you might remind yourself, perhaps they're carrying a sadness I'll never know. Compassion doesn't mean weakness. It doesn't mean letting people walk all over you. It means choosing to respond with understanding instead of resistance. It keeps your heart soft, even when the world feels hard. And here's the most important part. Compassion begins with you. There will be moments today when you forget something, when you make a mistake, when you lose your temper. Instead of scolding yourself, you can pause and say, "It's okay, I'm learning, I'm human." That is self-compassion, an equally essential practice. Think about it. If your best friend stumbled, you wouldn't harshly criticize them. You'd reach out, gently, and help them up. Why not offer yourself the same kindness? When compassion lives in your heart, you'll notice something beautiful. Your relationships feel lighter because you don't react so quickly or harshly. People feel safe around you because you radiate understanding instead of judgment. And most of all, your own mind feels more peaceful because it's no longer trapped in cycles of blame and comparison. Compassion is like a lantern. When you light it within yourself, it doesn't just brighten your own path, it casts light for everyone around you. So tomorrow morning, set a simple promise. Today, I will walk through this day with a heart that understands, a heart that loves both for myself and for the world. 3. Emotions will guide me, not control me. Have you ever felt like a tiny boat on a vast ocean, tossed around by waves of emotion you can't control? A day can begin in calm, and then suddenly one text message, one harsh word, one memory can stir up a storm inside you. The truth is, emotions are part of being human. Joy, sadness, anger, fear, they all rise and fall like waves on the sea. The problem isn't that emotions appear. The problem is that we often let them take the wheel. In Buddhist teaching, there is a profound reminder: we don't suffer because we feel. We suffer because we cling or we run away. When we cling to joy, we fear losing it. When we suppress sadness, it grows heavier. Either way, we become prisoners of our own inner world. But what if, each morning, you could whisper to yourself, "Today, emotions will guide me, not control me." Something shifts. You give yourself permission to feel, but you no longer allow emotions to make your choices for you. For example, when anger rises, instead of lashing out, you pause, take a breath, and ask, what is this anger trying to tell me? Maybe it's pointing to a wound or an unmet need. When fear shows up, instead of letting it freeze you, you can ask, is this fear real or just a story my mind is spinning? Emotions are like visitors. They knock at the door, they bring a message, and then they leave. Your job is not to slam the door shut, nor to hand them the keys, Your job is simply to open, listen, and let them go when their message is delivered. And when you do this, something beautiful happens. You begin to master your inner life. You can feel sadness without collapsing into despair. You can feel anger without destroying a relationship. You can feel fear and still take the next step forward. The Buddha once compared the still mind to a mountain. Storms may rage, rain may fall, but the mountain remains steady. In the same way, you can let emotions pass through you without being swept away. So tomorrow morning, as you rise, remind yourself, emotions come to remind me, not to rule me. I choose how to respond. One small affirmation, yet it can shift you from being a prisoner of your moods to being a calm, mindful observer. And in that shift, life becomes lighter, clearer, and so much more free. Fira, today, I will not chase, I will attract. Have you ever noticed that the harder you chase something, the further it seems to slip away? We chase success, but the faster we run, the more exhausted we feel. We chase love, but the tighter we cling, the easier it slips through our fingers. We chase recognition, but the more we compare, the more insecure we become. In Buddhism, there's a practice called non-striving. It doesn't mean giving up. It means no longer running with a mindset of lack. When you whisper to yourself, "Today, I will not chase, I will attract," you're changing the energy from which you live. Think of a flower. It doesn't run after the bees. It simply blooms in its own time, in its own beauty. And the bees come naturally. Life is the same. When you return to your true values, when you live with honesty, peace, and authenticity, the right things begin to find you. We often mistake our worth as something measured by what we achieve, what we own, or how others see us. That's why we run endlessly, never satisfied. But the Buddha taught, the one who knows contentment is the richest of all. When you stop chasing, you don't lose your goals. You shift from trying to prove yourself to simply living as yourself. Think back for a moment. That time you forced yourself to reach a goal, and when you did, the joy faded quickly. That time you tried desperately to hold on to a relationship, and the harder you held, the more painful it became. That time you longed for recognition, only to feel more disappointed the more you waited. Each of these moments carries the same lesson. Peace is not found in chasing, it's found in returning. When you start your day with the reminder, "I will not chase, I will attract," something changes. Work becomes clear, not frantic. Love feels natural, not anxious. You move with quiet confidence, not loud desperation. And here's the beautiful part. When you shift your way of being, the world shifts in how it responds. The right opportunities come, the right people appear, and even when they don't, you no longer feel empty because you've already discovered fullness within yourself. Let me remind you of this. What is meant for you will never leave you. What leaves you was never truly yours. When you understand that, you stop pounding on closed doors and start welcoming the ones quietly opening for you. So tomorrow morning, whisper softly, "I don't need to chase. I will simply be myself, and what is meant for me will come." This isn't passivity, it's the strength of a heart that knows its worth. 5. Every breath is a new beginning. There is a miracle always with us, yet most of the time we overlook it. The breath. We breathe thousands of times each day, but rarely pause to notice that every single breath is an invitation to begin again. In Buddhist teaching, the breath is seen as a doorway home. With every inhale, we are given life. With every exhale, we are offered the chance to release what we no longer need. Round after round, this quiet circle of life unfolds within us, moment by moment. Think back to yesterday. Maybe you lost your temper. Maybe you missed an opportunity. Maybe you said words you wish you hadn't. Perhaps you even carried that weight into your sleep. And yet, as you opened your eyes this morning, with the simple act of breathing in and out, life whispered to you, you can begin again, right now. Many believe change only comes with something dramatic, a new year, a new job, a new relationship. But the Buddha reminds us, each breath is already a new beginning. You don't have to wait for tomorrow. You don't need the perfect circumstances. You only need to return to this breath. The breath is also the most patient teacher. Whether you are joyful or heartbroken, successful or struggling, the breath is always there without judgment, without leaving you. When you pay attention to it, you realize you are not trapped in the past, nor chained to the future. You have the power to choose again, right here. Try this simple practice. In the morning, before you grab your phone, close your eyes and take one deep breath. Whisper softly, breathing in, I welcome life. Breathing out, I let go of what has passed. Just a few rounds, and your mind feels different, lighter, clearer, freer, and something beautiful happens. When you truly live with the breath, you begin to see others differently too. You stop labeling them by their mistakes. You understand that, just like you, they can change. They too are learning, breathing, beginning again. The breath teaches compassion, compassion for yourself, compassion for others, because we are all walking, all learning, all breathing our way through life, and we all deserve a chance to start anew. So the next time you feel heavy, stuck, or caught in self-blame, pause. Remember, with one breath, you can begin again. Tomorrow morning, as the first sunlight touches your skin, place your hand over your heart and whisper, every breath is a new beginning. It isn't just a reminder, it's the deepest truth of being alive. 6. I am grateful for the small things. There's a secret about happiness that many people overlook. It often hides in the smallest things. We tend to believe happiness is tied to grand achievements, a new house, an exotic vacation, a large bank account, or public recognition. But if you look closely, the moments that truly warm your heart are often the simplest. A hot cup of tea on a quiet morning, an unexpected smile from a stranger, or simply the steady rhythm of your breath keeping you alive. In Buddhism, gratitude is considered a root of peace. The Buddha once said, "Gratitude is the sign of a noble soul." When we practice gratitude, we expand the heart, and suddenly, any moment can become a gift. Imagine this. In the morning, as you place your feet on the floor, instead of rushing into your to-do list, you whisper, "Thank you for these legs that carry me." When you open the window, you quietly say, "Thank you for letting me see the sky today." Even as you sip a glass of water, you might think, "Thank you for this clear water nourishing my body." It may seem small, but these small acts of thanks create powerful transformation. Gratitude shifts the mind away from complaint, comparison, and scarcity. Instead, it opens your eyes to how much you already have, far more than you imagined. Gratitude is also a medicine for heavy days. When your mind feels burdened with stress, try writing down 3 things you're grateful for. It might be a friend who listened, a simple meal, or the simple miracle of breathing, and you'll notice your heart softens, your spirit lightens, and you find the strength to carry on. The most important thing to remember is this: gratitude doesn't require a perfect life. It blooms right in the middle of ordinary moments, and the more you nurture it, the richer your life feels, even if nothing outwardly changes. So tomorrow morning, remind yourself, I am grateful for the small things. This one phrase opens a door. On the other side, you'll see the world with new eyes, a world where every raindrop, every sunbeam, every smile becomes a reason to slow down and quietly rejoice. 7. I am not my mistakes. I am my potential. Have you ever looked back on your life and seen nothing but mistakes? Maybe it was a hasty decision, a careless word that hurt someone, or an opportunity that slipped through your hands. And then, like a shadow, those memories follow you. Each morning, you wake up whispering to yourself, I'm not good enough. I've failed. But here's the truth. You are not your mistakes. You are potential, still growing. In Buddhism, there is the teaching of impermanence. Everything changes, including you. Yesterday's mistakes do not define who you are today, and who you are today does not have to be who you will be tomorrow. Think back to when you were a child. How many times did you fall before you learned to walk? How many scribbles did you make before you could write clearly? If someone had labeled you a failure back then, you wouldn't have become the person you are today. Yet, as adults, we judge ourselves so harshly, forgetting that learning never ends. When you whisper in the morning, I am not my mistakes, I am my potential, you open a new door, a door of hope, forgiveness, and courage to keep moving forward. This doesn't mean denying mistakes. In fact, it means seeing them for what they really are, lessons. Failure is not the opposite of growth, it is the raw material that shapes growth. Each time you stumble, you gain new wisdom, new strength, and a deeper understanding. Think of history's great figures. How many of them failed countless times before they succeeded? Even the Buddha himself went through years of hardship, experiments, and missteps before discovering the middle way. What set him apart was not the absence of mistakes, but the courage to rise, learn, and continue walking. So each morning, look in the mirror and whisper to yourself, I am not only what has passed, I am a possibility unfolding. I can always become better. When you live with this truth, you stop fearing mistakes. You allow yourself to try, to explore, to love, to take risks without being chained by the fear of failure. Slowly, you'll realize what you once called mistakes were simply necessary steps leading you to a wiser, stronger version of yourself. Tomorrow morning, as the sun rises, remember, you are not your past. You are the seed of tomorrow. And if you water that seed with mindfulness and compassion, it will surely blossom into a beautiful flower. When you look back at these 7 morning affirmations, you'll see they are like tiny seeds. Yet if planted at the right time in the stillness of the early morning, they can blossom into a whole garden of peace within your soul. We begin by reminding ourselves, this moment is enough. For if we don't learn to pause and be fully present, we will forever chase things that never truly satisfy. Then we make a promise. Today, I will walk with compassion. Compassion is not theory, it is the warmth that softens the heart, for others and for ourselves. We also remember, emotions may guide me, but they do not control me. Emotions are like waves, but we are the ones who observe. In this truth lies freedom, even when storms rise. Another whisper, I will not chase, I will attract. Instead of frantically searching, we choose to bloom in our true value, like a flower radiating fragrance without ever chasing butterflies. And at the heart of it all, we see, each breath is a new beginning. As long as we breathe, we have another chance to let go, to renew, to continue walking our path. Along the way, we nurture a simple but powerful habit. I am grateful for the small things. For when the heart opens in gratitude, even a ray of sunlight, a smile, or a single breath becomes a miracle. Finally, we remind ourselves, I am not my mistakes, I am my potential. Mistakes do not define us. They are only the raw material from which growth and transformation are born. Together, these 7 reminders do more than start the morning with ease. They guide us toward a new way of living, a life of presence, of gratitude, of compassion, and of trust that we can always begin again. You see, change doesn't begin with turning a grand page in life. It begins with a simple whisper at dawn. Today, I will live differently, with peace, with compassion, with breath. And as these reminders repeat, day after day, you'll realize your life is truly changing, not from the outside, but from deep within. My friend, every morning is a new opportunity. You don't need to change the whole world. You only need to begin with a small whisper to yourself. A simple phrase, a single breath, a moment of gratitude. These can become the seed that opens up a day of peace. If these words touch your heart, leave a comment. Tomorrow morning I will begin with, and share the practice you choose. And don't forget to subscribe and share this video, so together we can plant seeds of peace in many more lives.